Welcome to Symbols and Synchronicity, the channel where we dive into the hidden meanings and intriguing connections behind the symbols that shape our world. In today's episode, we're looking at the ancient obelisks that stand proudly in some of the most influential cities on Earth. What do they signify? And why were they positioned in these powerful locations? Let's uncover the secrets behind these remarkable monuments and their enduring impact. Known as Tekenu to the ancient Egyptians, their obelisks pierced the skies of antiquity with a divine purpose. Carved from a single block of red granite, each obelisk was a marvel of precision and determination, dragged from the Aswan quarries to stand guard at the gates of sacred temples. These imposing monoliths, some towering over 100 feet in the air, were not for decoration alone. Obelisks were considered to be powerful conduits, able to capture the essence of the sun god Ra and channel that energy into their mortal world. The Egyptians tipped their obelisks with an alloy of gold and silver, so that their obelisks could act as a sort of spiritual lightning rod. You already know this if you've ever seen the Washington Monument, but the story absolutely does not end in Egypt. Many obelisks were taken from Egypt during the colonial era, while others were relocated around the world as gifts or trophies of conquest. Egyptian obelisks are now positioned in culturally, politically, financially, and militarily important locations in the Western world. Egyptian obelisks have been installed in Rome, Paris, London, and New York City. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., while not an original Egyptian obelisk, we find the world's largest obelisk, the Washington Monument. What is the significance of the modern-day obelisk configuration? In this video, we're going to reveal the symbolic significance of each globally positioned obelisk. Why does an ancient Egyptian obelisk, carved thousands of years ago, stand in the heart of Vatican City at St. Peter's Square? Its journey is a tale of conquest, martyrdom, and the consolidation of power. This obelisk, originally erected in Heliopolis, Egypt, was hauled to Rome by Emperor Caligula nearly 2,000 years ago, a trophy of imperial dominance. It stood near the Circus of Nero, a gruesome arena where early Christians, including St. Peter himself, were martyred under Roman rule. For centuries, this obelisk loomed as a silent witness to the brutal persecution of Christians. But in the 16th century, Pope Sixtus V turned the tables on history. He ordered the obelisk to be moved and placed it in St. Peter's Square, right at the heart of Christendom. Topping it with a cross, he transformed it into a monument to Christianity's triumph over the pagan world, and perhaps, in a sense, a poetic justice for St. Agamo, Peter, and the early martyrs. But the deeper meaning doesn't stop there. When you think about how obelisks have been moved and repurposed throughout history, often marking centers of global power, you start to wonder, does this obelisk, once a symbol of Roman conquest, now stand as a quiet reminder of who holds power and why? Its presence here isn't just history, it's a statement of authority that spans millennia. In the heart of Paris, a city celebrated as a global center of culture and history, an ancient Egyptian obelisk rises above the Place de la Concorde. Carved over 3,000 years ago during the reign of Ramses II, this obelisk once stood at the entrance to the majestic temple of Luxor. In the 19th century, it was gifted to France by Muhammad Ali Pasha, ruler of Egypt, as a symbol of friendship and shared admiration for antiquity. Transporting this 227-ton monument across the Mediterranean and up the Seine was a triumph of engineering. Its placement in the Place de la Concorde, a square notorious for the guillotine that claimed the lives of kings and revolutionaries, was no accident. The obelisk now stands as a stark reminder of how symbols of ancient power can be used to reframe history, replacing a site of chaos and bloodshed with an aura of permanence and authority. But its presence also raises questions. Is this obelisk merely a tribute to ancient Egypt, or does it represent something deeper about Paris's role as a modern-day capital of culture and influence? Its hieroglyphs, originally celebrating Ramses II, now seem to speak to the enduring allure of power. Power that transcends eras and empires to leave its mark on the world's most iconic cities. In the great capitals of Western power, London and New York City, stand two ancient obelisks known as Cleopatra's Needles. These monuments, carved in Egypt over 3,000 years ago, have found their way to the twin pillars of Anglophonic civilization, standing as silent witnesses to the forces that shaped the modern world. London, the financial heart of the Old World, and New York, the financial hub of the New World, share an enduring bond as centers of global influence, and the obelisks in these cities symbolize that shared dominance. The obelisk in London arrived in 1878, gifted by Egypt to commemorate British victories over Napoleon. It now resides along the Thames, its presence a reminder of Britain's imperial reach and its role as the world's foremost power in the 19th century. Meanwhile, New York's obelisk was gifted just a few years later in 1877, during a period when the United States was emerging as a global player. Installed in Central Park, it mirrors the one in London, reflecting the torch of power passing from the old world to the new. Together, these obelisks create a striking parallel, one anchored in the city that shaped the British Empire, the other in the city that would define American hegemony. They stand as enduring symbols of ambition, influence, and the cultural legacy inherited from ancient Egypt. But their placement also raises questions. Why do these monuments of antiquity sit at the heart of modern power? Are they merely relics, or do they carry a deeper meaning, a link between ancient and modern civilizations, reminding us of the forces that bind history and the present? The Washington Monument isn't just the tallest obelisk in the world. It's a towering statement of American power and ambition. Unlike the ancient obelisks of Egypt, this monument wasn't taken as a trophy. It was built from the ground up as a symbol of what the United States represents, a nation rising above all others, built on its own ideals and determined to shape the world in its image. Standing at 555 feet, its sheer scale is no accident. This obelisk was designed to dominate the skyline of Washington, D.C., the very heart of American decision-making, where political and military power converge. This is the city where the most consequential actions in history are planned and executed, from strategies that shaped the Cold War to decisions that still influence every corner of the globe. Its placement in the center of the National Mall aligns it with the White House, the Capitol, and even the Pentagon, underscoring its connection to the institutions that drive American dominance. But the Washington Monument also ties the United States to a much older tradition. Obelisks have long been symbols of centralized power and permanence, from the temples of Egypt to the empires of Europe. By adopting this ancient form, the United States positions itself as the inheritor of that legacy, but also as its culmination. Unlike the obelisks in London or Paris, this one wasn't taken from another civilization. It was built here as a statement that American power is self-made and unmatched. From its commanding height to its strategic location, the Washington Monument tells a clear story. The United States is not just another chapter in the history of world powers. It's the final act. A nation that not only reflects on its past, but uses symbols like this to project its authority into the future. Obelisks stand in the heart of the West's most influential cities, linking a shared vision of power and purpose across history. Rome, the epicenter of faith and tradition; Paris, the beacon of culture; London and New York, twin engines of finance and influence; and Washington, D.C., the strategic brain of Western might. Each city represents a pillar of a unified, dominant civilization. Their placement is no accident. These towering monuments, born of ancient empires, now embody the Western world's belief in its own continuity and control. Together, they connect the spheres of religion, culture, economy, and military power, projecting a message that the world's most powerful cities are aligned in ambition and authority. Far from relics, these obelisks serve as enduring symbols of a civilization that has not only inherited history, but shaped it, forging a world order built on shared values and unified purpose. Thanks for watching this episode of Symbols and Synchronicity. If you enjoyed exploring the mysteries and meanings behind obelisks with me, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want more deep dives into the hidden symbols and strange connections that shape our world, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. What do you think these obelisks really represent? Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and keep looking for the symbols and synchronicities around you.